Yes, people. I'm currently sat in my car in my Peugeot in the Cornish countryside trying to upload a podcast. I can't do it at home because my Wi-Fi's like the Wi-Fi you get in Uganda. It takes about 10 years to upload a 5 GB video. So whilst I was here, whilst I was up near the 4G towers of Cornwall in the countryside, thought I might as well record a podcast episode and see where it goes. So I haven't really got a intention for today's episode. There's no narrative or there's no one cumulative idea that I'm trying to narrate the experience around. It's just kind of a stream of consciousness episode and trying to relay some of my own experiences and what it's like to be Alex Rogers. Just kind of it's kind of a form of self-therapy when you do these podcasts, and just to explain some of your life situations and how you're feeling right now. I think it's beneficial for everyone to do, and this is what we're going to do today, and hopefully it's helpful for some people. I think we're all very similar humans, especially in modern society. We all go through similar problems. We all experience archetypal feelings of anxiety, depression, the depressive ruts, what it's like to not have clarity and purpose and vision and be confused. We all experience these things. These are all archetypal emotions and feelings that are built into the human DNA. And yeah, we all live out these experiences. So I think when people tell their own stories or they relate with the experiences that are going on in their life, it's beneficial for everyone because you can find wisdom in other people's experiences. Like, think how crazy it is really that we're all humans that are on this planet, right? We're all built with this core DNA that's completely unique, but we experience similar things. We have all the same senses, we have the same emotions, but we all have completely different contexts of how to relate our genetic DNA to. And you kind of get built from the components of how you grew up, from the society you grow in, the culture you grow in, your parents, all these societal influences. Everything creates you, and you've got this inherent psychic fingerprint that is you, but then also on top of that gets molded and sculptured through the lens of the context of how you grow up. And so we can all be on this planet, all being the same species, or being essentially humans, but being completely different and having completely different wisdom and experiences and what it's like to live life. And this is what makes it so beautiful and unique to be you as you are. Like, you have never been born before and you'll never be born again. Your exact genetic code is so extremely unique and improbable that it is actually a miracle that you're here. And if we can look at everyone with that sort of divinity and that sort of like curiosity of, wow, it's crazy that human's there, what are even the chances of evolution getting to the point where he's been here? I think every one of your ancestors has had to successfully reproduce millions of times to get you to be here. There is like an unbroken chain of evolution that has got for you to be here. And the fact that you grew up with this personality and who you are is amazing. And I think it all starts with having that appreciation for the fact that you are unique and you are special and you are deserved to be here, and we are all worthy. And when we live in a society that's quite easily designed to make you not feel worthy, just having that intellectual understanding of what are the chances of you being here and the actual purpose of you being here, and just the beauty of you being here, it gives you that bit of self-compassion and self-love, and I think that's always a good base to start on. And sometimes when I get lost and I get confused and I get frustrated and I'm looking at other people on Instagram or looking at other people on YouTube and they're succeeding the things that I think I want to be succeeding in, and I start beating myself up for not being good enough, I'll sometimes just take a deep breath and go, like, you're lucky to be here. Like, say if it is, for example, our souls get incarnated into human bodies to try and live out in the material world. Let's say if we come from another place, we come from this source of divinity, or we come from something higher up, and these spirits are trying to get into the human body. Our soul was trying to get into an incarnation of what it's like to be a human, and your soul has come here for a reason. It's come here for a purpose, to live out the experience of what it's like to be a human. And there is other souls up there that haven't quite made it into a body yet, and they're jealous of you. And I always think having that frame of mind really helps, because it's like, regardless of what it's like to be a human, how difficult it can be with the anxiety and the depression, I think there's souls and there's beings and entities looking down upon us, like jealous, because we get to experience anxiety and we get to go on this Ferris wheel of what it's like to be a human, with all the struggles and everything that's going on in life. It's crazy. Life is so flux and can be so difficult, but it can also be so rewarding, and it's an amazing experience to be alive. Even if you're struggling with anxiety or depression, the fact that you even get to experience anxiety, depression, it's part of the process. Everything is unraveling as it should, and we're just souls that have been incarnated into a body and what it's like to be a human, and the human existence is suffering, built into the inherent nature of humans is pain and suffering. But that's better than feeling nothing. Like, you could not feel anything. And I think the more you can take this burden on of suffering, you can accept it and say yes to life. Viktor Frankl's got a really good book that says that. It's like, say yes to life. And this is a guy that went through concentration camps, who lived like the most extreme forms of suffering. And he found within that extreme form of suffering a freedom. There's always a really good quote in his book, Man's Search for Meaning, which I'm sure you would have read, which is between stimulus and response, there's ability to choose. And there's an ability to choose the interpretation of your suffering. And I'm saying yes to life and yes to the burden that we're carrying is only going to benefit us in any way. And it makes life exciting. It makes life willing to live. That's easiest to theorize this and intellectualize it is easier said than done, and to actually apply it and to live that experience is difficult. It's not an easy thing to do, but I think that's all we can do in life, is just say yes to what's going on right now and have patience and be compassionate and realize that we are humans. Like, humans are not inherently flawed, but we're flawed by nature, because we have been formulated through a process of evolution, which has designed emotions and designed adaptations to help us survive. And survival doesn't always want us to thrive mentally, it just wants to survive. So we're built with this foundation of a body and a mind that is inherently, it kind of has suffering involved in it and pain. And we have to deal with that. We have to learn how to ride the waves of emotions and the cyclical nature of life. We have to learn to sit with that and be okay with it. And that's the main theme in my life at the moment, is like, life isn't progressing as much as I want it to progress. I feel like currently in life, I'm not feeling as much as I want to feel. Sometimes I go through my day, and because life, it's just, I'm not maybe aligned with a so-called purpose right now, and I'm just kind of like floating, waiting for the next thing. I kind of sometimes feel just like I'm floating through life and I'm not fully capturing everything. And it can get frustrating, and I can then overanalyze my situation and start beating myself up about it. But I've started catching myself beating myself up and overanalyzing and realizing that I'm on the part of the process where I'm a little bit lost and a little bit confused. But if I look at the inputs, if I look at the person I am compared to the person I was, like, I'm on the right track. And I suppose you are too. Like, whoever's watching, if you're listening to something like this, if you're open to improving yourself, if you're trying to build more awareness of who you actually are, you're on the right track. And don't feel this pressure to get to where you think you need to get to straight away. Like, take your time, because life unfolds as it should unfold, and have a trust in where you're going to get to. And like, I think now, with how like confident I am socially, like, I used to have extreme forms of social anxiety, and now I compare that to who I am now, and I'm like, wow, there was no need to stress. I was going to get there eventually. I was going to get to the point where I can socialize with people and make friends and be confident in myself. And I remember all I wanted 5 years ago was to be able to have the confidence to say hello to someone, and I would beat myself up and ruminate in my thoughts over and over again. But if I had the knowledge of I'm going to get there someday, it would have took the pressure off, because I felt like I was in a trap. I felt like I was never going to recover. I was never going to get to the point where I was healed, or like I could even talk to someone. And it was this expectation of where I should be, and I'd beat myself up comparing myself to who I wanted to be compared to who I was now. And it's that Seneca quote: we suffer more in imagination than we do in reality. Like, I was suffering in my own mind because I was trapped in this box of not being happy of where I am, when if I just knew that I was going to be okay, like I am now, I'm okay now, I'm confident. If I just knew I was going to get there and had that trust and that faith, then that would have took a lot of the pressure off and a lot of the expectation, and I think that would have alleviated a lot of the anxiety. And so if I relate that to my experience now, and anyone that's watching, like, a lot of us, especially our age, I'm guessing a lot of people that are listening are 24, 25, 26, around that sort of age, you've got so much pressure on what you're going to do for your life, what you're doing for your future, where do you want to be in life, who are you finding a relationship? Are you going to get married? All these questions, these existential questions of, am I doing the right thing? People are doing so much better than me. What am I doing in my life? Like, these are things that they sit heavy on your heart. They really do, and they consume your mind, and they consume your thoughts and your day-to-day life. You become dissociated away from it because you're so concerned about your future and who you are as a person. But say, for example, if you could peer into your 60-year-old self, if you could peer into your 70-year-old self, when life has settled down, you've been and lived through life, what would he say to you? Like, what would they say to you? They'll be there, sat there chilling, going, wow, what a ride. I wish I would have just enjoyed it more. I wish I would have just took time to appreciate where I was and to stop beating myself up and stressing so much, and to just let myself be. And I think a lot of the progress that we can naturally make gets stunted by that expectation and that pressure of needing to be somewhere and needing to do something. And I think it's a real tragedy that we have to experience that. And all of us go through it. We're all humans. We're all designed, as I said before, through this evolutionary process, and we're all embodied in a body, in a human mind. And we all have this, and this is something you can't get rid of. But just having that knowledge and that acceptance and that faith, that real faith in something of like, it's going to be okay, like life is going to be okay, like I wake up and I breathe, and regardless of the suffering, regardless of my state of mind, regardless of my external situation, that I'm going to be okay. We seem to make out in our minds and conceptualize ideas of that it's going to be the end of the world if things don't go away. Say if maybe we don't start progressing at the pace we want to progress at, we seem to make it out like it's the end of the world. And there's a lot of pressure coming from social media and seeing other people live, because on social media people seem to create these false personas of they're doing very well and they're making loads of money and they're shredded and they're extra happy and this is how you be a masculine man. And this puts so much internal pressure on us because we compare ourselves to the formulated version that someone's putting on social media. But if you could go into that person's state of mind, if you could really live their life, whilst externally it might look like they're doing very well, you realize that they deal with the same things you do. And I think the first sign of inner growth is the acceptance of like, I wish, I'm so happy that I'm me. I'm so happy that I am Alex Rogers right now. I'm so happy that the person I am, or not, you're not Alex Rogers, but if I look at me, like I'm so happy that I am me. And I wouldn't want to be anyone else. And I got to that point of my inner work about 3 years in, especially into just like standard self-improvement stuff. And then when I more started focusing on meditation and mindfulness and the inner work, I really had that acceptance of I'm happy with who I am. And like there's parts of myself I don't like and I'm shameful about, and I'm trying to work to get rid of that shame. But I would rather, I couldn't think of being anyone else other than me. And I think that's a real sign of progress and a real sign of a healthy spiritual growth. And yeah, so just stop putting pressure on yourself, people. Like, and I know that's easier said than done. And there is a healthy amount of pressure, there's a healthy amount of discipline, there's a healthy amount of pushing and drive that comes from a good place, and it comes from creating things in the world. But you don't want to get lost in that. You don't want to get lost in the pursuit of always trying to improve yourself, or always like trying to escape from the person you are, because it can be a miserable existence. It really can. And so yeah, and for me, it really does start with just when I stick to the basic stuff, when I stop conceptualizing and idealizing goals and versions of me that I want to be in the future, and when I just look at the now and I look after my body, I look after my health, I look after my mind, I read the right information, I just do the right things in the now. That's where I seem to feel most aligned and the most purposeful. And yeah, it's I don't have a purpose right now. I don't have this overarching massive goal. But my purpose and what I've come to accept is the fact that like if I'm doing the things right now to look after myself, the future's kind of come unfold naturally for me. And I think it's that backwards law. Stop focusing on the positives and maybe look at the negative, or the perceived negatives. And when you do that, when you look at the parts of your life that need fixing right now, instead of trying to aim towards living this amazing life and being this rich person, when you actually focus on the situations of, right, I'm a little bit overweight right now, my diet's not great, I'm binge eating, I'm not very confident in social situations. When you just look at the things that are causing you suffering and you put a focus on working through them and understanding them, your life consequentially gets better from that. It kind of unlocks the future for you, and like just focus on the now, people, as much as possible. Look into the past, look at why you are given into these repetitive patterns of behavior or these compulsions, and understand your past and try and build a narrative around it. I think a lot of our healing comes from being able to tell our own stories of our past, and like have an idea of where you want to go in the future. Sometimes it's nice to think of the things you want to do in your future. It can give you a bit of motivation or ambition or inspiration, but try and live in the moment of like when the anxiety comes up in the moment, let's deal with that anxiety. If I'm currently suffering with social anxiety, or if I'm not earning enough money, let's focus on that right now. Let's focus on meeting the survival needs, the self-actualization hierarchy of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So let's focus on meeting them now, and that will benefit my life, and stop putting so much pressure on the future, because yeah, it's caused me a lot of suffering, and I find the more I let go of the future and the ideals and the perceptions of where I should be, that the freer I feel in the moment, and the more calm and the more patient I feel. And patience is a virtue. Patience is the biggest virtue. And just have compassion for yourself, people. Like, we're going to make mistakes, and the mistakes are what you learn from. Like, if I look at my past, and like, it's not the things that I've done well that have taught me the most, it's the times where I've failed, or I've not been as successful, or things haven't gone my way. They have been the times that I've simultaneously like had the most growth. And it's being willing to sit in the negative or perceived negative emotions and the times where things aren't going well, which like frees us up for the more higher unconscious feelings. But as I said, we live in a society that doesn't promote this. We live in a society that's telling you to set goals and to go out and discipline yourself and grind, the grind set, do this, do that, make sure you're always waking up early, waking up on time, blah, blah, blah. And like, it really just takes away from the spontaneity and the fun of life. And yeah, I suppose for me now, it's just about trying to have more fun and do things more naturally, because I really do like the Taoist philosophy on this, where like, the Tao is just unfolding. Society, like life is just unfolding. The universe unfolds through you, and that you just kind of got to step out of the way and let life live itself. And the idea of Wu Wei, effortless action, just act without resistance. And anything that really feels like it has massive resistance to it is usually a sign that you shouldn't be doing it. And when that form of spontaneity and curiosity comes, and sometimes we do have blockers there, and it's self-esteem issues. But most of the time, you know when you're going down the wrong path. It doesn't inherently feel right. It doesn't feel like you're living the right path. And so just be in tune with the way life's unfolding, and learn from that. And it's that Peter Crone quote: life presents you with people and circumstances to show you where you're not free. And I really do feel like the universe is an intelligent force. It's a God, whatever it is, the universe, call it whatever you want it. It's kind of teaching you through presenting you with circumstances in your life, and it's got this intelligence where it shows you exactly what you need to be shown at exactly the right time. And your ability to grow is just your ability to be open to what is happening, and your receptiveness to reality. And the more you have concrete ideas around what you should be doing and who you are, the more that prevents you from seeing the truth of what's happening in front of you. And when you can take away the perceptions and the narratives and stop looking from a place of survival, or stop looking from a place of projection, and actually just be fluid with reality, and be like water, kind of just let reality teach you what it needs to teach you, the more freer you're going to feel, and the more you're going to get closer to that authenticity of who you actually are, and your life's going to feel more aligned for it, instead of your mind being full of contradictions, and your actions being full of contradictions, and your behaviors and your thought process. When you really adapt to reality, and you tune into what is happening, then contradictions seem to go away, and things move more smoothly. And yeah, the intelligence brings you into its momentum, instead of you resisting the flow of the water, flow of the river. That was a little bit extra abstract. I hope that made sense. But yeah, people, I don't want to bang on for too long. I don't want to sit here and just like waffle the same things over and over again. But it is important for me to keep reminding myself, and hopefully the listeners that are listening, is to like take the pressure off yourself, man. Like really do. It's not doing you any good, and it's not doing me any good. And like you don't need to prove anyone anything. You don't need to you don't need to go out and prove anything to anyone. You really don't. You are good enough as you are, and just trust the process. Be patient. Like, things might not be moving at the pace you want them to move at, but like, they will figure themselves out. And do you think about the problems you had 10 years ago? Do you think about all the popularity problems of school and the growing up as a teenager, all them things? Like, do you think of them now? So in 10 years time, you're not going to be thinking about these problems. So just deal with them as they arise, but realize that nothing's infinite, nothing's concrete. Everything is flux and changing, and I really hope life goes well for you guys. And if I can be a companion alongside you with this podcast, just for this part of your life where you're growing and you're improving, that's all I can ask for. And for me, that feels very rewarding. And I'm just someone who's going through life trying to figure it out, just as you are. And by keeping open-minded and keeping receptive to things, and not getting attached to things too much, I feel like I'm making progress. And I really want to relay that information to you, and I want you to come along on this journey with me. And you've all probably got so much to teach me, and I hope you one day find a way to share your messages out there and get the confidence to do that and improve your life to a point where you can feel like you could do something like this. So yeah man, that's everything I've got to say today, people. I hope that was an interesting episode. I quite like it recording in the car. I think I'm going to do more of them. It's quite atmospheric. I've got all that, the rain coming outside, and in the Cornish countryside. I've only got 10% on my phone, so I should probably pause right now, finish the video. But yeah, thank you very much for listening, people. I hope that was helpful, and I'll see you all in the next episode.